Yeah.
So today, I am so grateful to have with us Miss Patricia Berman and
Hi.
Mr. Mike Denman,
How's it
two
going?
very, very talented folks here in the Denver metro area. And today we're going to be talking about STRs. Now, for those of you,
Short-term
yeah, for
rental.
the short-term rentals, for those of you who, I actually just learned that too. It's pretty cool. Always learning from these guys. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to start, and Patricia's going to tell us a little bit about STR, short-term rentals, and kind of her backstory on basically real estate overall, but what had kind of inspired her to even, I know we're hearing a lot of things, short-term rentals, VRBOs, Airbnbs, what are these things? So I'm going to let you go ahead and grab it and go after it. If you can tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, happy to. Thanks for the intro, Bob. So basically, I've been a real estate investor since 2014 and in the local Colorado market here, as you know, and we've done really well and realized a lot of appreciation. But what happened was we had a couple of single family rentals that had appreciated so well, but they weren't cash flowing. And Mike and I sat down and talked about what our focus would be.
Crunch the numbers.
And decided to reallocate those funds or the equity that we had in those houses towards something that was going to cash flow much more, right?
Yeah.
I think we had 2 properties and we were looking at something like $300 a month.
Like $300 to $500 a month. It was really small.
Yes.
So you're sitting on all this equity and you're like, okay, these houses, they've appreciated, but it's like, I'm not flowing. I mean, other than having 2 cool houses, like I'm not really flowing much on here other than the appreciation. So you're just sitting on a ton of possible cash and it's just sitting there for you.
They were cool houses.
They were great.
They're like, they're worth a lot.
We were looking at about $300,000, $300,000 to $400,000 in appreciation. So it was time to put that money to work.
Yeah.
And during some of that time where we were crunching the numbers, I am an active listener to the Bigger Pockets podcast, huge fan. And I was listening to the podcast and there was a guest on, her name is Avery Carl, and she wrote the book called Short-Term Rental, Long-Term Wealth. And it talks about how you can run a short-term rental from another state, essentially remotely. So all you really need is an iPhone, a laptop, and you can do it. Yeah. And I was inspired. Previous to that was that we were crunching the numbers and we were looking at like reinvesting the money in a bunch of long-term rentals. We already have some other like out-of-state long-term rentals, so that we're doing really well. But after hearing that, I was like, hey, let's look at short-term rentals as a possibility because it can really give you a lot more cash flow than investing that same amount of money into long-term rentals. So that's how we got started.
Yeah, it was impressive when we were going through our spreadsheets to determine how this would work. And we had like 30 years projected and we had all these different variables. Like what if we took it and put it into 10 long-term rentals and had all these different kind of ideas as to how it would look.
Yeah.
And then we kind of scrapped everything and went with
we went with short-term rentals. And actually what I did was I set a goal of, I wanted to have $10,000 a month in cash flow from rentals, including the 2 out-of-state long-term rentals that we owned. So,
great.
Yeah, it's great.
And the ones, they do like $1,500 a month or something.
Conservatively, yeah.
We had to put a lot of money for remodeling one of them.
Yeah, high five to you, through the video here if you're listening.
Yay!
And so,
all right.
Yeah, congrats, you guys. That's huge. And for anyone who's maybe listening to this in the future in 5-10 years, something else that's interesting about your story is that if hopefully this is well behind us in another few years, but just to set the stage on where the world was when you kind of were getting inspired, wasn't it right around COVID-19 and the lockdown and where's everything going? So, I mean, that was probably kind of scary time for you too, to consider making some big moves.
It was a scary time. Thank you for helping us get through the sale of 2 of our properties during.
Oh yeah, full disclosure. Yeah, full disclosure there.
Right. Yeah, so it was a really rough time. We didn't know what to expect as far as like, are we going to be able to sell these properties at a premium for what we thought? Are they going to go under contract fast? Are they going to be on the market for a time? Because we waited until the renters were out. So we didn't have anyone renting it at the time. We would have to carry that overhead until it was sold. So it's
a hefty mortgage. But I mean, like, it was nerve-wracking. We balanced that with the nerves of having to find renters in November. to try and move into $3,500 a month house.
Yeah,
And so
which
it's like it
sounds
was very much that balance. And I think that having the house on the market for a little bit while we got it sold, it seems like it wasn't even on the market for too long, right? Like 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was like, starting to sway the market at that point in 2021, right?
Right.
But at least when she started finding the short-term rental properties well, actually, tell us about how you found it.
Okay, so here's the thing is that I was inspired by Avery Carl's podcast on Bigger Pockets, and I needed to know more. So I ordered her book, I read the book, and she did have an agency that specializes in short-term rentals. And in the book, it talks about regional drivable vacation markets because they're less likely to be impacted by recession. And when ends travel, where you couldn't travel outside the country.
Right.
So these markets,
those restrictions.
Yeah, travel restrictions.
So the whole world was different. You're watching this in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
The world was different then, and we were looking for something along those lines, and it made sense. And I contacted their agency, and they also provide you a little bit of education on the back end. So
awesome.
A little bit of hand holding. It was great. Telling you, just advising on like there's systems that you can use aside from just listing it on Airbnb or Vrbo or any other short-term rental booking site. There are management systems that you can use to manage the pricing and do dynamic pricing, which is easier. You don't want to be in there manually setting your prices because you're going to leave money on the table. Talking about how to find cleaners in these different markets.
Which is the most important thing.
In our first market, it is the most important thing. Definitely cleaners and handymen are going to be your team, especially when you're
handy people.
Yes, and when you're managing remote, this is really important because you're not there, and so you need boots on the ground, and you need to set up a team, and you may have to go through a few people to get the right team in place, and that team might be in place for a certain amount of time, and then you'll need a new team. So you have to plan on dealing with these things. But I was looking in the markets that her agency, Avery Carl's agency, caters to. And I found a market. I was looking in the Smokies originally, like the Smoky Mountains.
Tennessee.
But it was really good.
Pigeon Forge and some of the Smoky stuff. There's a lot of people moving into those areas.
It's right near Dollywood. Hello.
Dollywood, yeah, right. I actually had a client, during that time, they bought a short-term rental. And like right there in the mountain, like right on the part of the range, I guess on the western side. I don't know much about it, but she was very much happy with her short-term rental she bought out there. And it was more than what I thought it'd be. It was like $850, $900. I mean, it was bumping up into that threshold, and I guess
it was very competitive.
Yeah, super pricey.
Super pricey, super competitive. So we looked at a market that was not as competitive at the time, called Crystal Beach.
Yeah, Texas.
Crystal Beach, Texas. It's right near Galveston. It's actually just across the little bay from Galveston, and we bought a beachfront beach house.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
it's gorgeous.
I mean, we are talking about a
top-notch
property. But we
and
wanted
for anyone listening to this, like check in the comments section somewhere in the comments or somewhere, you find the links and the pictures of all these cool properties that these guys have and that they're available to go have a great experience. So sorry, okay, go back to it.
Oh no, absolutely.
Plug that really quick.
We would love for everybody to take a look at our property. The other thing we wanted to do was we wanted to diversify. So we also purchased a property in Joshua Tree, California. So they actually have opposing high seasons compared to the beach market because summer for Joshua Tree is the high desert in California.
110 degrees.
Summertime.
It's for the Eagles. The band the Eagles. I think we talked about this at our lunch. They used to go there and drop acid and write songs. Joshua Tree.
I mean, it does make sense.
It's a psychedelic place.
It's that kind of place. People go there to kind of disconnect. The LA crowd, San Diego crowd.
Write songs, like some of the best songs ever written, or maybe they happened there. They started there. It's the seed of
U2 has an album called Joshua Tree, don't they?
Yeah, I'm sure they. Yeah,
I imagine that it is inspired by Joshua Tree, California. So there you go.
Maybe I need to move there.
I think so.
It's really hot though. Did you hear that part?
You can live there in the fall and winter months.
Yes.
It's probably beautiful.
So if you're in Denver Metro, that's where we're streaming, right? Whoever's listening, if you're listening to this on wherever you're listening to this, and you're getting sick of the snow, and you're like, I need to get away for the weekend, call these guys up, click on their link, and sign up to plug that one because it's warm there. Go have fun.
We'd love to host you. We love to host.
Right,
We love hosting.
Pretty cool
So,
property too.
It is a cool property, and actually there are connections to Bigger Pockets for that property as well. So
Yeah, tell me that's an interesting story. Let's hear about that.
well, so there's a Bigger Pockets, what I call the OG podcast. That's the Bigger Pockets podcast. Then they have another podcast called the Bigger Pockets Rookie Podcast. And there are two hosts, Ashley Kerr and Tony Robinson. Tony Robinson is, he owns a bunch of short-term rentals in Joshua Tree. And then he started flipping some properties to sell as like ready
turnkey
short-term rentals. And I follow him and his wife on Instagram, and I was interested in the Joshua Tree market because I had heard him speak about it on his podcast prior to getting into short-term rentals. Well, long story short, or long story long, we were looking at the Joshua Tree market, and I saw one of the properties that he had just flipped was sitting on the market for 2 weeks. So we went ahead and put an offer in under asking, $20,000 under asking. And we got it accepted. So we have a house in Joshua Tree that was basically rehabbed by one of the biggest names in the business. And the Real Estate Robinsons. It's super exciting. We love the house. We actually
Aren't they as cool as Honey Badger Bob though?
No.
That's not a formal name yet. We were joking about that over lunch.
No one messes
with. I bring that back.
I feel like I would definitely buy a house from Honey Badger Bob or sell a house with Honey Badger Bob.
Sounds good. Sounds power.
Honey Badger Bob is like, he's tenacious.
I love it though. It's so funny.
So we wanted to put our personal touch on that house, and we rehabbed the garage space and
added a bathroom, an outdoor shower.
A mural's going up this weekend on the entire back of the house, so it's going to be fun. Super.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really cool. So you have a giant moon.
Totally Insta worthy.
I can't wait to see it. And so also, if anyone's listening to this, like for those of you who don't know and you are listening to this, like Mike and Patricia are fabulous friends. We're good friends. We're very close. And if we joke like this all the time. Actually, off camera, I think we have more fun. We live close.
We don't have that.
We're here in Denver Metro, and we have a lot of fun together when we can. But busy, both of us have busy lives and families, but we love each other. So love you guys.
Yeah,
you guys are great.
we love you, Bob. So thank you. You've been awesome in our real estate journey, and you're a cool friend to have. Bob plays guitar, so he's just like one of those cool, amazing people.
You're like this straight-laced rep guy.
Oh no. He'll wear a button-up shirt while he plays.
You guys are sweet. Well, I know the fun times are still ahead of us. We have a lot more fun to have together.
Definitely.
So. We just added a commercial break in there. Sorry, there's probably a commercial happening somewhere in the world over this conversation. Okay, back to your fun.
Cut it out. Okay, so back to the other thing about short-term rentals is that I was excited to get into short-term rentals because by trade I'm an executive assistant, which is a profession that is built around anticipating needs and helping people and service. So hospitality seemed like an easy jump for us, and we really try to focus on hospitality, and we want to give our guests the best memorable experience when they come and stay at one of our properties. And I think that's really where it's at and what it's about.
And like what we want when we go on vacation is where we kind of like as a guiding light as to what we would decide would be in a short-term rental for us to have other people come to, like, extra towels. That was a big thing.
Always extra towels. So it's funny because we're in several groups with other short-term rental operators, and there's big discussion about towels, right?
Towels, huh?
And sometimes people want to give people just one towel per person. And honestly, I am opposed to this big a time because I need a towel for my hair and a towel for my body.
I need a towel for my hair, my beard, my arm.
And I'd be upset if I walked into a short-term rental where I'm spending like 3-4 nights, this beautiful home, and I am like, I don't have enough towels for my hair and my body. So we've made it a point.
Beach house.
I know, right?
And then
beach towels.
There's beach towels. That's the other thing that So we've got into these debates with people who say, like, we don't provide beach towels. It's a regional drivable market. People can bring their own towels. And I'm like, what? If I walked into a beach house and there were no beach towels and I only get one bath towel, I'd make it work, but I'd be a little bit upset.
It's not a 5-star.
It's not a 5-star experience, so I wouldn't give 5 stars. And I certainly want to make sure that the other thing is we were out at our beach house, and the only place where you can even buy beach towels on the peninsula without taking a 20-minute ferry is this place called the Big Store.
It's huge.
They do have everything, but
they have an Ace Hardware in this place.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I love this place already.
And a grocery store.
It's an everything store. That's why they call it the Big Store. But to be honest with you, the towels there are expensive and they're crappy. They leave like all this lint on you. They don't really dry you off.
They're like paper thin.
And I would hate for my guests to come and not have enough towels, have to go buy towels that don't perform well. So we made it a point of giving people plenty of towels, and we actually got a review where someone mentioned about they would give us 10 stars if they could, because they were so like there were plenty of towels. I mean, people appreciate it, right?
It goes noticed.
You guys are doing it right. You're doing it right.
We also leave like a bag of chips and some dip for people when they first arrive, so that way they have a little bit of a snack that they can nosh on when they first arrive, because it's like a 2-hour drive from the airport, let alone from other major cities around there.
Right.
I love that you guys are even going this route and building a business on those principles. It's amazing. It's like when we talked about it last time, I love the tell story. It reminds me of like the few times I've been to very like inclusive, whatever, Cancun type resort on the coastline there. You show up to your point and you're hot, and some of those places are doing it right. You get out of the car, you're like, oh my God, I'm traveling all day, the airplane, they're getting through the airport. And then they came out, your story kind of reminded me a little bit of that level of service. And they had lavender soaked cool rags. They gave and water if you can't. For everyone that, like, as we got out of the car, walked up to the steps, they had these wonderful, just cool rags, whatever, you just like put them on your little washcloths, And just that extra little step or that extra little thought of how can we make this a great experience. It's just, I remember, I remember that thing. I don't remember a lot of the other things, but I remember that.
It's stay with you.
Sure. And that's what we're trying to do. Actually, we do like tortilla chips and salsa because, hey, Mike's a celiac, and we think of things often about the things that he can't eat, and most people can have chips and most people can have salsa. And it's also like, hey, you're here, you're on vacation, let's get the party started, right? And it's something quick. You can open it up, you can give it to the kids, who are maybe hungry and cranky. We also do a fruit bowl because most people can eat fruit and it's refreshing. And again, after traveling like that, it's just nice to have. We also
one thing on that though, it is our cleaners who help us facilitate every single one of those treats and gifts for the people who are staying with us. So it is like a very powerful connection that we have with providing guests something is through our really amazing cleaning staff.
Right, because we're not there, and we do make sure that we pay them what they're worth. We would never expect them to take more of their time out of their schedule to do these things for our guests without compensating them. So it's really important that if we get a bunch of like 5-star reviews on cleanliness, we make sure that the cleaners see a bonus, and you have to treat people well. And these things are important. So we're super grateful for our cleaners for facilitating these experiences that we're trying to give our guests,
because they make us look really good.
And we supply, we don't necessarily put it in our listing, but we do supply coffee, a variety of coffees, a variety of teas, creamer, bottles of water. We want to make sure that people just can arrive and if they forgot to bring their coffee, they have something to hold them over.
Amazing. I love that. I love any businesses and people who even care who own small businesses. That's obviously something I built my small brokerage up out with that idea in mind. It's like constant, never-ending improvement. It's like, come on, you got to do better. And I think the days are gone. Like even at a giant regional like hotel, they can afford extra towels, and they're like, you get 1 towel. It's like my wife's the same way. She uses 2 towels, and if there's only 2 towels, guess who gets a wet towel when I get out of the shower?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, exactly.
2 towels, one for your hair and one for your body.
Right.
I usually just shake off really.
No. Hey, we want to make sure that I think that we're going to get a lot further in managing these short-term rentals than if we were stingy. I'm writing a book right now, and I think
Oh, cool.
there's a line in it where I say, like, don't be an Ebenezer, be a Tiny Tim. Give
Nice.
a little bit more than than what is the bare minimum that you can do, because your numbers are going to look better, I think, over the long run when you go above and beyond and do a great job at giving people great experiences. You're going to get repeats, visitors and guests.
It's not even just repeat. It's like, we had a couple of reviews where people were being asked where on earth they were because all their photos were amazing. The place they were staying was so spectacular. And so like these things, ultimately, with everything that we do, all these touch points, they're all proliferating the actual property's success and reach for people to pay attention to it. Like our Facebook page has grown. We have like hundreds of little hearts on our Airbnb wish lists from other people across the board. I mean, like it's really fabulous to watch all these people kind of react and respond to like a place. And we're like, wow, this place is way nicer than our actual primary residence. And we're like, wow, these floors are great. We love these. I was like, oh, these are so fancy. So I mean, like when people walk into the house, it's on stilts in Crystal Beach, so they have to go upstairs to get into it.
Yeah.
There's a whole like open floor plan kind of experience.
But once you walk into the main area and the windows, there's like a wall of windows that is basically beachfront. So you have like amazing views of the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah. And Mike's our marketing manager, and he has built a digital presence for our short-term rentals,
which is crucial. I think it's like having a Facebook page is like bare bones minimum. Having an Instagram page is like icing on top. And then I run ads from that Facebook page and the Instagram account. Ultimately, brings more eyeballs to the listing, and it's something that we don't have to rely on the listing platforms by themselves to do all the marketing for us. We've had our house actually featured quite a few times on Verbo's ads. It's been really interesting for the area. So it's like, oh, they're using our ad photos, but it's going to Airbnb or Verbo's general location. It's not necessarily even like our listing they're actually sending people to. So it's
Mike, I love that. I love that you brought that up, and whoever's listening, like, stay tuned for another episode. For those of you that don't know, Mike is a
there's more.
marketing.
There is more.
Go on.
Sorry.
Just to plug in, Mike is a marketing wizard. He owns a marketing firm, and you're gonna, like, if you don't know this gentleman yet, learn to know him if you want to get into SRT, STR. Short-term rentals. I'm still trying to learn now that I got to get this down. He's the guy to talk to. So he's got a book coming out. You're gonna see him at some of the conferences and shows, but he's really gonna help people, with some of his creative marketing he's using for these. Anyway, take it back away. Just wanted to plug you there for the next episode. We're gonna be talking about all the fun stuff you're doing for investors.
Yeah, he's actually been able to keep our short-term rental booked solid. Yeah. So we're booked through mid-August. We've been booked in mid-August for a while now. We've been able to gross quite an amazing amount of money for some of our summer months. Yeah. We grossed $23,000 just for June. I mean, these kind of numbers. So basically what I would say is that we are on track to hit or exceed the numbers that we ran when we were analyzing this deal to begin with.
That's fantastic.
We used AirDNA to analyze.
We used AirDNA. We used, I looked at a lot of listings that were already live in the areas. So when you're analyzing these deals, you want to check out the region. AirDNA is a great source of information.
STR Insights.
STR Insights is another one that just launched. I haven't personally used STR Insights, but I think that the product is really great for analyzing markets that haven't already been saturated. And then the other thing that I use is like a form of going into the Airbnb app and looking at the listings that are already there. AirDNA will also give you the top listings and how much they grossed in the past 365 days. So you can even open those up and kind of check them out, check out what those descriptions look like, pictures. You have to get professional pictures if you're going to run a short-term rental. So be prepared for that expense, because that's the whole part. I mean, that's part of the marketing, right? And it's really important to have.
Everything has to be able to be
killer photos,
looking good. And actually, like, the people want to be able to see every part of the home, but when it comes to choosing which home, they like looking at the exterior photos. That's one of the things I found through some of the advertising. It's like they don't care about any of the inside. They want to see what the outside looks like, and then they're like, cool, I'll click on it.
Drones, I'd imagine drones too, for the specific type of property. Get some drones flying. And
drone shots are really important.
Our drone shots are our most popular photos of the property, actually.
I think I have a new name for this episode. Okay.
What is it?
It's all about the towels.
It's all
the
about the towels, Bob. It
All
is
about the
all about
towels.
the towels.
I mean, like if you went to a vacation and you had one towel to share between you and your family, right? I mean, that'd be a terrible experience. On the same spectrum, if you have enough towels for you and your family, like this is a great experience.
Right.
And with the chips, like I will destroy them. I'm gonna be the first one in that door now that I know that. I've got my family's gonna be like a bunch of hungry little Wolverines, as always. I have 3 young boys. I'm gonna get in there, like rush in before anyone knows. I'm gonna destroy that bag of chips and salt, whatever. Everyone's like, I'm hungry. I'm like, is there anything to eat? No.
It's not a party with Bob. It's a Bob party, and then everyone else stays hungry. And it's, we'll keep that in mind for when you visit, and we'll put several bags of chips.
Yeah.
Just for you. But
So you guys,
yeah.
good.
Well, I was just gonna address the fact that in our Joshua Tree house, we'll do something similar. We'll do the chips and the salsa. I think we're gonna do chocolates. We have a whole guest package that we're going to be doing in Joshua Tree. It's going to be a little bit different, probably not the bowl of fruit because it's a little bit harder to source that in that area, but we're going to do chocolates for each person. We're doing sleep journals where every night they can write a little bit of
like that idea.
And who are we working with for that?
We're working with a company called the Olive Jar, Dawn Asher, and she is amazing. She's this amazing creative who has these visions of how to create experiences for your guests in your space. And she's amazing. She's working with other short-term rental hosts about how to create, give your guests these amazing experiences and to make them unique for each property as well. So
the cool thing about experiential marketing is when people have these experiences and even talk about them or share them on social media, they can tag the property's Instagram or whatever it is, or use a hashtag. So that way we can track some of the people's experiences and journeys online. And of course, it will be used as marketing because people are going to see this, and it's part of our own reach that we can extend and grow by creating these cool experiences for people, period.
Awesome. And not only that, it helps them have these moments in their vacation that they do remember, right? Because they're tied to a moment, a scene, a smell, a taste.
A lavender rag.
Right?
Lavender rag.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we have in store for our Joshua Tree property. Like I said, different markets, you want to know what your market is. Joshua Tree is a little bit different than the Crystal Beach crowd. We're dealing with more people who are into the Instagram and Insta-worthy moments and experiences that are unique and luxury. So
yeah, I couldn't get anyone to book on Instagram when I paid for ads on it. I was like, wow, for Crystal Beach, no one was really paying attention to Instagram at all for that property. And I was like, well, maybe it's a Texas thing because the California crowd absolutely has Instagram as part of their use every day, it seems. And so it definitely is a very much like knowing your demographic and knowing what audiences, because we're still going to be marketing within like 300 miles of the property's location for people. So it's like we're going to go into Nevada, out into a little bit of Arizona for all the Joshua Tree stuff, down to like Mexico even. We can't advertise in Mexico for this kind of stuff, but ultimately that's a whole kind of separate thing.
Right. Joshua Tree will have some international crowd, but mostly it's still a local, regional, drivable vacation market. Joshua Tree National Park is an attraction that attracts something like
2.4 million people a year or something like that. Roughly.
So,
well, you guys, I can't wait to go to both of these someday. Take the family.
Yeah.
You can drive on the beach in Texas. You can literally take your car and you can drive on the beach.
I'm in a Jeep. And whoever's listening, I mean, check out, look in the comments or the links below if you guys want to book a spot and find out more about Mike and Patricia. And just kind of in closing, did you guys, I mean, for someone who's considering, I know we have just a little bit of time left, or just even intrigued or interested in doing kind of like following a path or your path that you've chosen here, do you have any tips for them or things that you think like a good place to start? Where would they start the process?
Research locations,
regions.
Where they want to go vacation is also valid. That's also valid. Like a second home, a vacation home.
Right.
A lot of people like to decide where they're going to invest based on where they want to travel with their families.
And you might be able to get a second home vacation home loan for the financing part. So that's typically been a 10% down loan instead of a 20 or 25% down.
Current numbers may change, you know.
So, right, I know it's crazy. Please don't hold me. That's a whole
nother interview with a great lender.
We're also, I'm always happy to talk to people. You can reach me on Instagram at P_Mojo, MOJO09. So that's where I'm happy to field questions and point people in the right direction. But yeah, do your research. Check out. There's a million resources online for STR.
Yeah, and I've got a book out. It's actually How to Excel at Short-Term Rental.